So here's the new project bike. This was the late Apache Jack's own 1977 hardtail shovelhead, fitted with an extremely large S&S motor. It's been sitting around for a couple of years since Jack passed away, but his partner finally decided to sell it, but she kept the original tank as a memento and put the same alien head tank as it had originally on, but just had it painted blue and the rear mudguard blue, which is going to be changed. Let's face it, it doesn't look good at all. I'm going to put it back to blue and white, which is how he had it, with a blue circly part there and a two-tone side. So much nicer. But I'm going to put my twist on it. So me and Jake have come up with an idea of putting it black with about 4 coats of silver flake, then 7 coats of candy blue, 7 coats of lacquer, and on the sides we're going to paint the sides white as it was before, but we're going to put the logo on, so the actual logo will be the blue candy paint shining through the white, which I think is going to look smart. But yeah, great bike, loads of trick parts on it, you know, 50s plates and things like that. But bits of the wheels are Italian rims, fitted with an 8-inch Norton hub brake, which is lovely. All custom shot blast and sanded parts everywhere. This was a bowl from the local curry shop. Thank you, Taj. Oil tanks are 2 stainless steel fire extinguishers welded together. Loads of nice parts, Baker parts there on the start, the Kickstarter. Yeah, really nice. I love all these little parts that he's done. Great attention to detail. But the issue so far is it's been sitting for 2 years and it doesn't want to run. So we tried to kickstart it for about half an hour and it wouldn't fire up. And the only way we could get it to run in the end was to squirt loads of easy start in there. And when it finally fired up, alter the tick over so it was really running high, which of course you can't have it like that. So I've got to do some work on it. So far I put some brand new fuel in, always a bonus. I've changed the points gap. It was a little bit wide, I think. Changed it to 0.18, which is what they recommend. And I've done the static timing. Hopefully that's okay. And also I've taken off this lovely trick coil pack, but it got really hot. So I've got a feeling that's no good. So I've got an original Andrews one coming, which is what they had back in the day. But of course it's more modern, but it's got Andrews written on the side. It's black, look cool. Also taken out the rubbish Champion spark plugs. Let's face it, Champion plugs went out in the 80s. So it's got some NGKs in there. The core inside the spark plug is the key to it. And the Champion ones, if you ever smash one apart, are thinner than everybody else. They break down really quick, no good. So apart from the paint, there's not a lot of changes I'm going to do to the bike because I think it's really nice. I put my quad lock charger on. Why quad lock? Well, inside my custom painted crash helmet, they've got some tiny little Bluetooth speakers. And when I'm riding along, I like to listen to rock and roll. So shoot me, whatever. I've also fitted some tiny wing mirrors on because I like to see if there's any blue flashing lights. Obviously wanting an autograph. So apart from a couple of little bits like that and the paint job, it's probably going to stay as it is, really. I think it looks fantastic. Can't wait to get it finished. Can't wait to get it running, let's face it. But right now I'm in 2 minds. Do I get a sign writer to paint an old school 91 on the side? You know, like dragsters, and these would be in the 50s. So I'm not sure. Do I have it put on or not? The reason it's 91, of course, it was my dad's number. And it's on all my bikes. But this one looks so nice, I'm not sure. Who knows? Well, that's still out for debate. Anyway, I'll do a new video if I can get the bugger started. Step 1 is to make sure you're at top dead center. So take the cover, lift up that push rod cover and have a look at the valve. So the valve goes up and down as you turn the engine over. And you want to make sure that valve is down. Do that, take the spark plugs out, put it in 4th gear, jack it up and turn your wheel. So we are looking for the piston is at the very top and the valve is down. Once you know those 2 are there, you're on your compression stroke. Now it's time to finally adjust it. To do that, we take out this and have a look. Now there'll be some dots and a line, depending on the age of your bike. If it's a really, really old one, you are looking for a single dot at the bottom there. But most newer bikes from the really old 60s will have a line. So if you can see in there, you can just see it. So again, by altering the back wheel, moving it forwards and backwards slightly, you can get that line there. Now that line doesn't want to be in the center. It wants to be just on that back edge. Okay, if you're going to set the timing this way. So we're on the compression stroke, our timing spot on. Next thing to do is to check the gaps. So to do that, the easy way is to loosen these two slightly, and then you can alter your timing here until you see that at its maximum widest opening point. When it's there, you need to adjust it to 0.18 or 0.45 mil, and your feeler gauge should go in with just a tiny bit of resistance. Yeah, I can just feel that. If it's too big or too small, you adjust it by loosening that screw, and you can put your screwdriver in this point here to either push it down a bit or push it up a bit. Okay. Once you've got that set, the next thing is to do the advance and retard. Now there's an easy way to do this rather than using timing lights and things like that, these sensors, and that is simply wait for it to fire. So ignition on, and if you look at that point, as I turn it, you'll see a spark. There you go. It's just happened. There. Not sure if you can see that, hopefully. There. Yeah? So we turn it. There. And that's the mark we want to go for. So turn that around. The minute you see that spark, there you go. Let me tighten these up. And our points are done. I can't get the engine running, so I thought I might as well have a test of the graphic idea that we're thinking of doing. So I've got some stickers made up, and I'm going to have a go at putting them on and giving it a coat of paint, just with a rattle can, just to see what it looks like. Remember when Jake does it, this is going to be taken right back to bare metal and done properly. So nothing to lose, I might as well give it a little practice and just see what the effect looks like. So the stickers are on. That was a proper job getting them lined up, but there you go. So now what I'm going to do is take this up, give that a little light sanding, coat of primer, coat of white paint, peel it off and see what it looks like. If it looks awful, it doesn't matter, it's been repainted anyway. But it's good for a test. So the white paint's on, but it's not gone completely off. I don't want it rock hard, I want it a little bit pliable. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that's not going to look too bad, is it? So the base white coat is done on the fender, but on here, I'll stuck on the first coat of lacquer. 2 or 3 coats, make sure it's alright. But you know what, it doesn't look too bad for a rattle can. What do you think of the colour idea? Remember, this is just done with a rattle can, to give me an idea of the colours and the shapes that I want. It's going to look very similar to this, but what Jake's going to do, he's going to first do the whole thing in black, then he's going to add about 4 layers of silver flake, then he's going to put on about 6 or 7 coats of blue candy, then paint the white part like I've done here, and then go over the whole thing with a few coats of lacquer. Knowing Jake, probably about 6 or 7. So it's going to look blue and white like this, but the blue's going to absolutely sparkle and twinkle. So I think she's going to look absolutely the nuts. And I can't wait to get her out there. Why 5 months? Well, it turns out the gem of a bike that I bought wasn't really a gem. And it's just spent the last 4 months having a complete engine and box rebuild at the cost of £6,000. Let me explain why. The first issue was the primary. Started generating a real rattly noise. So we took it apart to find out there was a load of brass in the oil. It was a bit strange. So we looked further into it to find that instead of using a steel woodruff key, someone had cut down a 2p coin and put it in there. Now, of course, a 2p coin is very soft coppery metal. It broke down, it disintegrated, it went into the oil, it shredded everywhere. That meant that the primary chain had a load of stiff links, and instead of replacing the primary chain, someone had just loosened it off to stop it hitting the sides. Not good. New primary chain, new clutch. So by altering the timing and rebuilding the carb, I got the bike to start when it was warm, or at least at room temperature. But when it was cold, it would not go. You could spend 15 minutes kick-starting this and it wouldn't start. Even if you squirted a load of Easy Start into the carburettor, still didn't want to know. So in the end, I took it to Malcolm Barton. Now, Malcolm is a shovelhead expert. He's also a drag bike engine builder. He's known for having a Hayabusa that does 252 mile an hour. He really knows his stuff. So anyway, took it down to him, he did some checks, and we found out that the front piston was down 70% on the compression it should have, and the back one was about 60 odd. So that's why it wasn't starting, because there was no compression there. And the only reason it did start was when he was on the back piston first, because it had a little bit more compression. So basically, something was up, so we had to strip the engine and find out what the problem was. The first thing Malcolm noticed was the piston barrels themselves were 2 millimeters wider in the centre. It actually worn into an oval shape. And they'd done that because the gudgeon pins had seized in the pistons. Look at the colour of that. And the piston had been unevenly wearing it. Those pistons, by the way, were cheap Taiwanese pistons that were really damaged. That's obviously been done before the build. So, new pistons, new barrels, new gudgeon pins required. But why was it so hot? The reason was the camshaft. Whoever built the engine built it with a camshaft from a more modern Evo generation motorbike. Now, that could give a shovelhead a lot more power, but only if you do some modifications. To get an Evo camshaft working in a shovelhead, you need to do some work on the cylinder heads. You need to change the springs and the rockers, etc., because of the ultra high lift ratio of the camshaft. That hadn't been done. And without that, you get cylinder head damage on the top and rocker damage. So you need to redo the valves, redo the collets, redo the seals. Had to do that as well. The camshaft also has a different timing profile. So therefore you have to change the back plate, etc. If you don't change the back plate, then the timing is so far out, the only way you'll get it to start is to use a locking washer on the points, which they'd done. The problem with that meant that when you start revving it high, instead of the points moving to adjust the timing, they stayed static, which meant the higher the revs, the worse the timing got. And when the timing goes out, it causes the extra heat into the engine. So therefore, that camshaft was damaging the tops and causing the pistons to overheat, hence the gudgeon pins locking, hence the piston wear, etc. So, new camshaft, valves, headwork, barrels, pistons, full rebuild. On top of that, he found that there was metric bolts pushed into the imperial threads. The oil ways were blocked due to excess silicon. Whoever built it with the gaskets, it was an absolute mess. So the engine's been completely rebuilt. I've got an Andrews cam in there now, all new internals. Heads have been done, valves have been done, valve seals, etc. Gearbox was leaking, had to have that stripped, rebuilt, just gave it a check. That's okay. We've had new primary, new clutch. Charging system was also on the blink. New stator, new regulator. Yeah, 6 £1,000 later, she's back and she's running. Got a new engine, I might as well use it. So next year, the Harley Owners Group are meeting in Saint-Tropez. Now that's a 2,000 mile round trip for me on this old bike, and I'm planning to do it, but I need to change 3 things first. First one, the tank. I love the shape of this tank. It's beautiful, but it's too small. It only stores enough range to do 50 miles. But because I love the shape, what I'm gonna do is buy 2 of these tanks. I'm gonna cut one of them slightly to the right of center, cut the other one slightly to the left of center, and then weld the 2 big halves together to make a new tank, slightly bigger. In fact, I've already done it. Here's my new tank that's gonna go in there. The next step, a little bit back, is the seat. The seat was at an awful angle, really uncomfortable, simply cured by putting bigger seat springs in, so it's flatter. And finally, this is really cosmetic, but it bothers me, is this strut. Yeah, this strut. The amount of work this is going to cause me. This strut is perfectly vertical, which is fine, but when I look at the bike, I can see an angle of that piston. I can see the angle between the centre of here to the centre of here. That angle needs to follow suit. I've got OCD. I can't have a straight strut and those angles. So I need to take this off and move it so it's back slightly. The problem is this fender's too short. So I've had to build a new fender. So I'm going to finish fabricating that so this can be at exactly the same angle, and then the new fender and a new tank are going off to Jake to have that crazy paintwork that we've been talking about. 2,000 miles on a bike with flat bars would kill my back. So I've fitted 7-inch risers, just like it would have had when it came out of the factory in 1977. And believe me, that is so much more comfortable. I've got an old vintage tool roll holder, let's face it, I'm gonna use it. And because I like old stuff, I put whiteboard tyres on. I'm starting to go and change a few things as well on the bike, like added some brass bits here and a bit of engine Larry. Might do something to that air cleaner as well later on. But it's slowly getting my sort of twist to the original design. But I'm really looking forward to getting that slightly longer fender and that slightly wider tank. I think that's going to make a world of difference. I'll let you know when it's done. So let's try this new engine. Primes. That's called compression. Whoa. Ignition on, squirt of fuel.